3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome everybody to the Hiking My Feelings virtual campfire. This is campfire number 44. Wow, that's exciting. I didn't realize that we had that many. That's really fun. Today we have some of my favorite humans on the planet are joining me around the virtual campfire, and we'll get to that in a second. As you know, we are running the Take a Hike Diabetes campaign, and I want to share some updates on that. So as of right before this broadcast, we have logged 7,665 miles for diabetes awareness. Thank you. Oh my goodness, we're cruising. 111 participants and $9,395 raised. So if you haven't joined us yet, you can do that at hikingmyfeelings.org/diabetes. And a couple reminders about some cool stuff we've got going on this month. So Salomon is our shoe sponsor. They are amazing. And they have also agreed to match the next $5,000 that we raise in the app. And our friends at Kilter, anything that you donate between now and $10,000, so the next $700, they're not going to take a fee from it. So if you go and you donate right now, today, in the Kilter app, or if you need a link to go donate and fundraise, I can send you one. So you can donate to the Sydney Williams team of Hiking My Feelings on the Kilter app. That next $700 up to $10,000, they're not going to take their 10% fee. They're just going to give it all to us because they're really psyched about it. And the next $5,000 that we match or that we raise is matched by Salomon. So as a reminder, we're giving away a free pair of shoes every month. All you have to do is complete 4 activities, and that's averaging 1 per week. We're not picky about what you consider a hike to be. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a hike. We're doing hiking, walking, running, rolling if you're in a wheelchair. We want to make this as inclusive as possible. Rucking, which is the stuff with your backpack. I'm going to ask Michelle to come on because Michelle Farias, who's one of our community members, she rucks all the time. I have questions, so I'm going to ask her if she can join us and talk a little bit about that. But as long as it's a mile or more, then you get a point, and your miles count towards our goal of hiking 1 million miles for diabetes awareness. So hikingmyfeelings.org/diabetes to join us. Also, if you follow us on Instagram, or if you know how to read my t-shirt, then you already know that I'm obsessed with Muffin But Good Vibes. Our friend Craig. So we met Craig. He sent us a DM on Facebook, which thank God I checked it because Facebook's gross and I don't really check that box very often. But he was asking before we started the original virtual campfire series, which was last year. We did 20 nights in a row, May 26th to June 14th, in replacement of what we were doing instead of COVID, because COVID ruined our plan to hike around Chicago. We ended up doing the virtual campfire. That's how it started. So Craig sent us a message before we started the thing, and he was like, hey, I make muffins. Can I bring you some up to the Reggae Ranch? And so given that the virtual campfire is all about healing and hope and inspiration and good stories and also good music from some of our favorite musicians, it was kind of this no-brainer perfect fit, because Craig also makes muffins influenced by local San Diego and Southern California reggae bands. And so these are the artists that we're having on the show. He makes muffins inspired by their names. I'm getting whiffs of them. So he made us a muffin. We've been talking about making a muffin for forever. He just released K-Bong's muffin, which is Jam by the Fire. And it's a coffee cake muffin with smoked raspberry jam on the inside. It's called Jam by the Fire, which is the song that I really wanted K-Bong to sing when he was on the virtual campfire, which he did, which was one of those mind-blowing moments for me. So now K-Bong has a muffin. Hiking My Feelings has a muffin. So ours is a s'mores muffin. I'm going to show you. Are you ready? Because I am. And I'm going to eat it while Dada's singing around the virtual campfire later, but I'm going to show it to you now. So this is the muffin. On top, you might recognize this chocolate. If you don't, that's okay. It's from Ross Chocolates. This is sugar-free chocolate. So it's on top, it's shaved on top, and then it's mixed in throughout the muffin. So big chunks of sugar-free chocolate. On the bottom is a graham cracker crust, and then it's a graham cracker chocolate muffin on the inside and a marshmallow glaze on top. Craig is making his own graham crackers and he's making his own marshmallows to make this 100% sugar-free muffin. So I'm dead. It's delicious. I'm actually trying to not drool because the van smells so good right now. But we'll eat those later, and then you can watch my eyes roll in the back of my head because I'm sure you want to see that. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can just hear me moan a little bit when I eat it. So now that we've got all that out of the way, if you go to our Instagram right now on our stories, and we'll make this like a regular thing throughout the next week or so, we are having a muffin naming contest. Because I was like, Craig, what are we naming the muffin? Craig was like, well, why don't you ask your people? And I was like, oh, that would be awesome. So duh. So you guys get to help us name the muffin. If we pick your name, then you're going to win a signed copy of my book, Hiking My Feelings, Stepping Into the Healing Power of Nature, and a shirt from Muffin But Good Vibes, which probably looks like this. It's a really cool logo. It's a muffin with palm trees and a sunset. You guys know how I feel about sunsets. So obviously these muffins are legendary. I'm not just saying that because he made one in honor of Hiking My Feelings, but that doesn't hurt. So try a muffin. Unfortunately, if you don't live in San Diego, tough luck for you. You can only get them in San Diego. So it's worth the flight. If you guys want to name a muffin, if we pick it and you don't live in town, like come out here, we'll make you some muffins and you can be one among the first people to try them. So I'm not going to fly you out here. You would fly here on your own time, but if you want to eat the muffins, you got to get here. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'll eat the muffin later for all of you to watch and enjoy. In the meantime, my first guest tonight is Cassie Cichocki. I have butchered her name since the day I met her. Fortunately, I got a phonetic spelling lesson earlier. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cassie while I call her down Price is Right style, because Cassie is awesome. So Cassie, a little bit about her. An adventure in progress, as we all are. Cassie Cichocki prides herself on her ability to create space for others to feel safe, supported, and secure. As a freelance writer and meditation teacher living in Nashville, she's able to put life's experiences, both good and bad, into words that allow people to feel understood and gives others the opportunities to look at their own stories with curiosity instead of judgment. A former blogger for Chicago Now, the online subsidiary of the Chicago Tribune, Cassie first went viral for a post about tampons. Little did she know that her blog about being a self-proclaimed hot mess would quickly become a go-to source for people who didn't know how to put their own experiences into words. Her current blog, So Long as It Is Wild, is a space for fellow adventurers in progress to show up exactly as they are. There's no such thing as good vibes only in her world. She wants people to live life as fully as possible, no matter what their history may be. Cassie lives by the words, I see you, I hear you, I get it, me too, and that comes across in her writing. An advocate for making therapy accessible to all, Cassie is passionate about changing the narrative around mental health. When not working or volunteering, she can be found most often with a book in hand, logging miles, hiking mountains, and contemplating the musings of herself and others. She also quotes her therapist way too often, but she'll save that for the blog. So, Cassie, come on down. Price is Right. I'm going to dance, and I hope you do too. Hey, yeah. Or we can laugh. It's fine. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here with you, Cal.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a backstory and then you can color it in with the parts that I missed. So I don't know how you found us, so you can fill that part in. Well, I think I do, but I always butcher it. But Cassie like swooped into my DMs when we were getting ready to start Blaze Your Own Trail to Self-Love last year. And she's like, hey, I really want to sign up. And also COVID, pandemic, all my extra dollars are going to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was like, first of all, I love you. Second of all, thank you for the transparency. And third of all, like, we need to figure this out. So I dropped the ball. I didn't respond for a while. And then as we were getting ready to launch stuff, I was like, oh, hey, by the way, how are you? Who are you? Do you want to be part of the program? And she was like, yes. And so we figured it out. She got in the group. And then my whole life started to change slowly before my eyes. And I was like, oh my God, universe, thank you for this lovely gift. If you listen to her bio and then you know Sydney Williams, you're like, wow, they are basically peas in a pod. They care about a lot of the same things. And then she went through the program. So she went through Blaze Your Own Trail to Self-Love last year. And then she joined the Summit Circle, which is an awesome program that we run now. And then this year, she joined me as a facilitator for Blaze Your Own Trail to Self-Love. So Cassie is like everything I didn't know I needed and the sister I never had. Boom.
Oh, Cal, geez. I'm in hot with the big compliments. My God.
So what else did I miss?
Yeah, I found you guys totally randomly. I was looking up a John Muir book, I believe, because he's tattooed on my arm. And I was going through like a breakup that wasn't a breakup that I knew was more meaningful just in the terms of my growth than anything else. And I was working through that on the trail without even knowing you guys really existed at that point. And I randomly found your book and I hadn't ordered it, but I followed you guys on Instagram and then everything else just kind of happened. Like in a very weird rabbit hole moment. And I think I did Blaze Your Own Trail, but like, I can't even say I showed up for that in the same way that like we were just supposed to find each other, even more so than like I loved that program, but I'm like, I was already doing the work. So it was such a good additional tool. And then you and I just sort of were like, well, this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, there are a handful of people that are in my life where I'm like, I've known you for lifetimes, and you're one of those people, pal. I'm really excited about it.
I mean, our pattern app tells us that.
Yes. So if you aren't on the pattern app, get on it and then find your friends and see if they're the same as you. So this month is Women's History Month. We're talking about collaboration versus competition. And last week when I was chatting with our guest, Rubina, she's a therapist, coach for Black, Indigenous, and women of color. And she is just like a holistic healer and totally awesome. We were talking about all kinds of things, like what competition feels like in our bodies, how to soothe it, how to cope with it. And then we talked to Ray Zaragoza, who's like this incredible folk singer who lives in a lot of different intersections. She's Indigenous, Japanese American, and another one. Dang it, I can't think of it, but she's got like 3 different racial identities, like they all intersect with her music. And she was talking about rewriting the folk songs of America, since most folk singers identify as cisgender, straight, and white. Like it's very even keel on that. And so she's kind of like reinventing what folk singers are and what they sing about. And her lyrics are powerful ballads of feminist amazingness. And so I'm curious, in your life and your experience, what comes up for you, just like with the words collaboration versus competition?
I mean, in the broadest spectrum of it, like when I look back at my life experience, I think it's been more about what I always showed up in a collaborative way, but it was because I didn't think I was worthy of being in competition with anyone, more than it was me wanting to collaborate with someone. And so like, I was the ugly duckling in school. I did not kind of figure that whole part of life out till my 20s. And so I was the girl who would hold your purse, or I was with the cool group of girls, but like, I was going to tell another cool girl, like, well, she's going to fight you. Like, I was never like the cool girl. I was the one who kept the cool girls out of trouble. And it was because my body didn't fit in with theirs, but I wanted to, and I've said it before to you, and it's something I still struggle with. I had this mindset of, it's better to be the ugliest in a group of pretty girls than to be the prettiest in the group of ugly girls. And that was something that I carried with me. And so this kind of, I was competing, but it wasn't like a known competition. It was just, I'm not worthy of competing with them, so I'll do whatever I have to feel like maybe I'm good enough.
Woo. Hi. Notes for my therapist next week. Am I actually a collaborator, or like,
I know.
That's
that one, pal.
Wow, we don't have time. That's fun. No, but that resonates so deeply, and I had never thought about it in that way. But like, I was a cheerleader for the same reasons. Like, position yourself in proximity to like power and influence and popularity, but also like feeling deeply inadequate in those spaces as well. Whew.
Yeah, and I think it also, I mean, I can also say that all of my, not all, but most of my healing has been done through women, though, it's different sort of collaboration that I didn't know I needed, where it's been safe female friendships where you can say that sort of shit, and having a safe female therapist who's validated me, that has allowed me to see what true collaboration is. Because like, let's be real, the world doesn't exist without women. It's just that simple. Like, we carry it, and we've carried it because we've had no choice, and we've carried it on our backs from the patriarchy, and just the fact that we birth humans and we do all of these amazing things, where it makes sense that healing would have to come from other women as well, which is, I don't think there can be a greater form of collaboration.
Ooh, damn. I've never thought of healing as collaboration, but that's exactly what it is, because there's trust and vulnerability and openness and authenticity that has to occur and has to exist in order for healing to be facilitated. Woo!
Yeah, when I have a friend who's going through a couple of girlfriends who are going through some serious stuff, whether it was the death of a spouse or a divorce or this or that. And when I see the way they work with their children, it heals my mother wound, because I can see that exists, and that that's what that's supposed to be. And you're allowed to see it in that way. So it's also healing wounds that maybe don't even directly have to do with you or them, but seeing that it is possible, and that as much as like the things we want to heal weren't our fault, it is our responsibility. And by watching other women do their own healing work or heal their generational stuff with their kids and things like that, it gives us the opportunity and the space to do our own work.
Yeah. And I think with that framing around it, one, I love that too. I'm going to totally rework how we talk about Blaze Your Own Trail to Self-Love in that capacity, because like, even just between you and me and the relationship we have and how we are like textaholics with the healing journeys that we're on respectively and holding that space for each other, the way that we facilitate is collaborative and offers healing and models what that can look like.
100. Well, and I think even today, like Sydney and I were texting about a couple things that I'm going through right now today. And even the difference in talking to like you versus other of my best friends who may at some point watch this and are just as valued, but like, it wasn't just venting and kind of being told like, oh my God, me too. It was like, okay, well, wait a second. I know this, this, and this. And like the difference in like my nervous system when I talk to like someone like you versus some of my other friends who maybe aren't doing the same work is a game changer just for what it feels like afterwards, because you can feel your nervous system being soothed because it's somebody who actually understands and is doing the same thing.
Man, wow. I am just like blown away by the idea of framing collaboration or healing as a collaborative experience, because it totally is. And that just redefined a whole lot of stuff for me that probably derailed any other questions I was going to ask, but that's how that goes. Yeah, nailed it. Okay, bye. So Tomboyce Avenue, come on down.
The world is healed.
Yeah, it's over. No, but so I think in that space, and I think it's really important, and that's one of the things that I've learned just being in community and friendship with you, is like, it's okay to not like people. It's okay to not be buttoned up all the time. Like, I think I live in a way where, I mean, like, for crying out loud, like I toured the country telling my story about how I was sexually assaulted. Like, clearly I'm not all the way buttoned up, but even in my presentation of my raw stories that I hope heal the world, I still have an expectation of myself of what that looks like and how it's delivered. And I think one of the things that I appreciate most about you, both as a facilitator and a friend, is your ability to be like, I hear you. And also, I'm not going to let you talk to yourself like that. Can you tell me a little bit about, like, have you always been like, hey, don't talk to my friend like that? I'm not okay with that. Has that always just been like a skill you carry? And if so, where the hell did that come from? Because it is like healing balm on a like fresh open wound to have somebody hear you and hold that space in that way.
I think I've always been, because I am a fixer and codependent by nature, and it's something I overcome. I have always been that friend who's like, let me build you up, because I needed to be built up, but I didn't have the vulnerability or the language to actually say that. So I was just showing love in the ways that I was aching for love, which also came out really wrong most of the time. But that's definitely something that I think, and I've talked about it with you before, that I learned from my therapist through self-compassion, where when I first started, and she was like, if you can't access a compassionate voice for yourself, which is something that has been such big work for me, but then like, please hear my voice. And somehow, like, in the transition of that, it's switched to like, if I hear somebody doing that, like, if you want to feel that way, that's on you. But like, if we were in public and someone else talked to you that way, I'd jack them in the face. Hard stop. Like, like, I would let myself get talked to you that way before I'm ever going to let one of my friends get talked to you that way. So I can't allow you to do it to yourself if I wouldn't let it be done to you.
Everybody needs a Cassie.
Only if they have bail money.
Because she'll punch him in the face and get in trouble. But like, honestly, it's a really good, like, I've had, I mean, and I think even just being able to say that this is the first friendship where I've had that level of just direct communication. Cause like, I know of all the, like, of the women in my life that are my like inner circle wolf pack, like Kat, Brandy, Michelle, Christine, Cassie, like of those 5 people that are like really, really in here, I know all of them would say the same thing. I feel that, but I've never heard somebody say to me, do not talk to, like, stop talking about my friend that way. And I was just like, oh, like to hear it, like feeling it obviously has carried me through so many different hard moments in my life, but to hear somebody like stop it and say that is next level support and love. So thank you for one.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's kind of what you were saying though, too, where it's like, it's not the, and you're so good about being like, it's never one or the other, and it's never black or white. Like it's that, and where, one of my other best friends, Ashley, where like we talk to each other that way all the time. And then in the same breath, when we have like an inside joke where like we call ourselves repeatedly the dumbest bitches in Nashville. And like, we don't, you know what I mean? Or my best friend Eris in Chicago, like we refer to ourselves as #idiots. And like, it's also knowing where you can be that way and what weight that actually carries. And there's safe relationships to have both of those things. And then there's the one-dimensional relationships where you're just the dumbest bitch in Nashville with that person, but you don't get the other part of that sisterhood, which is the like, well, wait a second, we know that what that means. And also you don't get to talk to yourself in a way where that carries real weight. Like you have to know where that line is, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think, so my next question is like, what in regards to making therapy accessible, because like I have, so my history up until 3 weeks ago was when I had access to therapy, terrified of it. You couldn't pay me to go do it. Like you literally could not pay me to go to therapy. I was like, no, I already know I'm broken. I don't need somebody to confirm that and tell me how to fix it. Cause like, I already know I'm broken. And then when I was like ready for it and would have done it, I couldn't afford it.
Right.
But in talking to you and how you talk about your therapist and the things that you've shared, like, well, and this is one of the reasons why I love your bio, because you're like, I quote my therapist all the time. I'm like, quoting your therapist made me feel like really ready and okay to like make the financial commitment to go to therapy. Because at this point, it's like, we have limited resources. What do I want to spend it on? And therapy is 100% one of the things that I want to spend it on. So like in your mission to make therapy more accessible, like what was your own journey going into therapy and other tools in the toolbox, because there's always lots of tools. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, when did you start? How did you get into it? And what was the journey like to get to the point where you were like, okay, I'm ready for this and I can show up?
Yeah, I think, my trauma timeline is since birth, and it is deep and leveled and complex. And I had, in high school kind of been told like, oh, things that like also growing up in the 80s and 90s, I do make a lot of space for all of our parents in the fact that like, there was no talking about emotional IQ with your children. It wasn't a thing. This is new. This is something that everybody's trying to figure out. And so everybody, was getting in the 90s was getting put on Ritalin or this or that. And I remember my mom and I actually just talked about this today. I remember going to the dermatologist in like 7th or 8th grade. And they were like, well, she picks at her face a little bit because she's anxious. So we can either give her anxiety medication or medication that will help her skin. And like a typical mom of a 14-year-old, she was like, give her the medicine to help her skin. Of course. There was no like, oh, wait, what do you mean she's anxious? Even though like straight up my ears are uneven because I pulled them that way from an anxious tendency as a child. This just wasn't something anybody knew was a thing. And then I had one depressive episode in college that nobody knew about except for me. And my parents, I never told my parents about, of course. And, I couldn't even take my trash to like the trash chute. It just piled up in my closet because I didn't know what was happening to me. And then that never really happened again. And I think, I moved home after college and was still in a dysfunctional pattern with my family, but that was all I knew. So I didn't think like, I have depression and anxiety. I just thought my family's fucked up. And, then in my 30s, I was living here in Nashville and nannying for a couple of families who were very emotionally aware with their children. And that was unnerving to me because I kind of like, I was doing the things they wanted because they wanted me to, but I was like, what are they like? We get it. Your 2-year-old's frustrated, but like, let's move forward. And so I was learning so much from them. And I got into a relationship that summer. And I never felt as anxious as I had before. And that was and I didn't know what it was. And when it ended, I unraveled in a way where I was like, something about this is just not right. I don't know what this is, but it's just, I know I should not feel this badly and this terrified and this undone from something that was not that long. And there was a lot of self-judgment, but it was also like this is not an appropriate response to this. And this is not healthy. And I had a friend who was a therapist, and I'm like, do you know anybody who maybe is taking sliding scale or something? And she talked to one of her former colleagues who introduced me to Morgan, who, thank God, was able to get me in for half her rate. And that was almost 3 years ago. And it's a long road. I just have begun to trust her. And now there is an attachment where I don't know how to like potentially leave her, which is terrifying on its own. But I've just probably in the past 2 months begun to really be like, oh, I get it. And it was a lot of failed stops where she wanted to do EMDR with me. And I couldn't access any of it. And I couldn't access the pain. And I think that's the hardest part about therapy is you go because you think you're broken, and then you push against it when you're there because you're repeatedly told there's nothing wrong with you. And that's really annoying when your whole life you've known there's something wrong with you. We're like learning, oh, I don't have depression and anxiety, or yes, I do. Like, I know I have anxiety, but a lot of that, it's not that it's like in your blood, it's that there are generations upon generations of unhealed trauma that has been passed down that we then say, oh, we're wired this way. When the reality just is, no, nobody has put a stop to it and said, no more, this isn't happening again. And so going to therapy, you have to, it's a terrifying relationship because you want to believe that it is completely, it's not reciprocal in any way, which is very uncomfortable. And also, if you stop paying them, they stop helping you. So like you want to trust, but you also know there's like boundaries in line where that maybe isn't possible. But I can say like 2.5 years in, it's a slow burn. You don't know that it's helping you until one day you're like, holy shit, that was like really healthy. I would be really impressed if someone else did that, but you did it, and like, it is without a doubt. I don't care how healthy you are, you should go to therapy. You should at least check in once every couple months with a therapist. And I will put it on my tombstone one day, like, here lies Cassie. She wants you to go to therapy. Like, that's it. Hard stop.
That's it. That's the story. No. And I think I would agree with that. And I was thinking about this the other day because like the work that I'm doing with my therapist, I feel so fancy saying that, by the way, because everybody should have this level of support. And so for like hard plug, shameless plug, because I am a huge fan of this platform, I'm on BetterHelp. We have a partnership with them. We offer 10% off your first month. So like if anybody listening is like what Cassie just said, like I'm ready for it, betterhelp.com/hikingmyfeelings. Like this partnership has been in existence for like probably 8 months now, but I had never promoted it because I couldn't afford it. And I want to make this resource available to our community because I myself am not a therapist. And the work that we do is a tool in the toolbox, which brings up a lot of things that could be supplemented beautifully with a formal therapy relationship. So I wanted to have that level of support available to our community as affordable as it could be. And also I had never used the platform. So when I was like, I had an encounter that I was like, I don't like the way I showed up, and I don't have anything else in my toolbox that can help me move through this. I want a therapist. So I signed up. I had a therapist within 2 days. Like, it's beautiful. And I understand the bad therapists are a thing. I lucked out and got a great one, like right out the gate.
And that is something that I'm also passionate about too, where people are very quick to be like, make sure you find a therapist that's right for you and this and that, which yes. And thank God, like I could not afford mine. I choose twice a month therapy. It should be every week for the level of trauma that I'm dealing with. I choose twice a month and I cannot afford it. I choose this over actual health insurance because it's more necessary right now. And no one should have to live that way. But I also like to make it clear, if I had been told keep searching till I find the therapist who's right for me, I would not have a therapist because I would find something wrong with every single one of them. And so sticking with somebody and the consistency of therapy, because it was the most affordable, and it is still not affordable. Like, I know I sit here as like a white woman and it looks like, oh, well, of course she can afford it. No, I can't. I have no income coming in right now. I'm a freelance writer and it's a pandemic. This is a huge sacrifice in my life that I make, and it shouldn't have to be that way. So thank God for programs like BetterHelp and things like that. But there's also something to be said for like not having this upper class ability to like, I'm not going to a therapist for a Xanax prescription. I'm going because I felt like I had no other way out. And like my internal life was coming to an end. Like I was not suicidal, but I felt absolutely insane. And it was either seek help or like live the rest of my life in a pain that felt uncontrollable. And that meant finding a way to focus on pain that was controllable, which is what therapy is. It doesn't, you don't go to therapy and it gets better. It gets a hell of a lot worse in a great way. In a great way.
Yeah. And I'm still a therapy newbie, so I'm figuring it out. But like at first I was like, because she does patient-centered therapy, which I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. Which the part about that you mentioned about it not being a reciprocal relationship, like my therapist went to a wedding 2 weekends ago. It's like I get on the call, I'm like, hey, how was the wedding? She's like, it was lovely. How was your weekend? How are you? Like, and I'm like, oh, we're not friends. Right. Okay. I don't get to know anything about you. Okay, cool. This is all about me, which is very awkward for me because as much as I like shine in my zones of genius and I appear to be confident on the show, I sound great on a podcast, interview me, I sound like a freaking rock star, but like every other waking moment is like paralyzing self-doubt and imposter syndrome and inadequacy. So for me to be in a relationship where it's all about me and I'm the center of attention, which like I thrive in those environments, but also when that environment is created for me, I'm like, oh, what even is this?
And there's also the difference between being the center of attention because you're being interviewed about great things about yourself and being the center of attention to know what your root pain is and the things that we're taught to button up. Like it is 100% acceptable for me to say I have anxiety. It is 100% fucked up in the terms of society for me to say I have depression, because that means you're too much. That means there's something wrong with you. That means at some point you're going to act too crazy for me to handle you. Anxiety, that's like a catch-all throw around, like, oh, I'm so anxious when I walk into the pizza place with my friends. Like that is like cutesy and meme worthy. But depression is like, well, what if I like, also high functioning depression, people don't get, like, it's not for 90% of people that you're coming home and your spouse is going to be terrified you pulled a knife on yourself. There is a low grade buzzing of something that is inherently wrong with me and I can't touch it. That's not a fun thing to be the center of attention about.
No, not at all.
It's not the same thing as like being told like, wow, you started this great program that's helping thousands of lives. It's like, yeah, I did. I really did. Like, that's great. But it's not great for your therapist to be like, so what did it feel like? You know, let's stop there. Let's talk a little bit more about the first time you felt abandoned by your parents. You're like, I'm good.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. That's not fun.
Watching the clock. Yeah. And I think, so I would love, like, what are some of the things that before therapy you were like, there's no way I could say this out loud, or like, cause like, I love your analysis of like anxiety is meme worthy, depression is like scary or too much, which is like, and I think because depression's like the next step after depression is obviously suicide. So like people don't know what to do with that either. So what are some of the other things that you've learned in therapy that were just like, oh, you mean that's okay? Like the stuff that we're conditioned, especially as women, to believe like is not all right.
I think learning a lot, and we've talked about it, where it's my own acceptance of things like attachment styles, which we were talking about, where, you know, people are either securely attached, and that's because they had great caregivers. They're anxiously attached, which means they are usually labeled too much or needy. Avoidant, which you shut down, and most, you know, especially romantic relationships, there's an anxious and an avoidant, and the anxious attaches to the avoidant and the avoidant runs and you get to chase. And then there's disorganized, which tends to be more of your people who are like really high up on the trauma spectrum. And so learning to accept, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is the acceptance, is just stuff where like things that I would have hidden, like I didn't want to talk about having depression. I don't want to talk about having an anxious attachment theory, and or just like feeling like my needs were okay. I was not raised to have needs. I was not allowed to. There wasn't space for them. And so just like knowing that needing something isn't too much, or like, and learning where it's safe to act, the difference between acting out and advocating for yourself, where like I spent my 20s acting out. Like I was never angry about anything. And then one too many drinks and I was that girl crying at the bar because you broke my heart and you hurt me and you're an asshole. And I didn't know, you know, I was just like, that's just how I am, or I was drunk. And like now at 37, having done this work, I can advocate for myself within safe people. There's still things where I'm like, I'm not ready to work on that with this person, but I know who's safe for me to be like, hey, this happened and I wasn't okay with this. And I just feel like you need to know because I have to advocate for myself. And I think learning that and learning that it's, you know, I lead with my attachment theory, where if I'm in a romantic relationship and it's more than a couple weeks and it's going somewhere, you're going to know, like, this is how I handle situations. I require patience, and not because like I'm going to be a brat to you, but because there are some things where like I don't feel safe inside, and it takes sometimes some external reassurance to know that I am safe. And I think just learning that acceptance of also being allowed to say this stuff shouldn't have happened and it isn't fair. And I'm very lucky that I have a therapist who, you know, we're taught you can't compare trauma and this and that. And we've talked about it before, where it is true, you can't, because everyone's experience is unique. But having someone who's like, no, you can't, but you get to in private roll your eyes a little bit at some people, because some of the things that people consider trauma compared to what you have to emotionally carry every day just to feel like you fit into the world is not something that most people can handle. And so she's just given me a lot of space to step back and not have to justify my strength so hard, and to realize what is serving its purpose and doing a really great job, where like I'm able to look at my anxiety and be like, this is exactly what my body and my brain are supposed to do right now. And I've got to be grateful for that in order to move past that. And I think having kind of that, just that language and understanding, you know, and her giving me the space to hear her in my head, which even when I didn't want to, that was just repetition from her. And then just knowing like, I'm 37, but everything inside of me is 6, and everything inside of everyone is 6. And healing that is how you get through the rest of your life. And every trigger you get is that, and like, you may never fully be healed. And I think just having someone who gives you that much space and whose entire job is to protect you without like to fully rely on them isn't something that you can get outside of a therapy relationship, because it's not your husband's job. It's not your wife's job. It's not your parents' job. It's not your brother or sister's job. It's not your friend's job. No one besides your therapist is someone that you are supposed to be 100% validated by all the time.
Yes. Because I was like, well, and I'm thinking too, like the big one for me, and I'm still new at this. I'm sure I'll have more aha moments, but like the big one for me recently was like, we go through life and we see millions of people, not so much these days because we're all stuck at home, but like you say you went to a festival, like a music festival, tens of thousands of people are there. I'm not going to go be friends with every single person in that audience. I'm not going to go, I don't care what all of the people in the audience think about me, but in my mind, I'm not allowed to say, I don't like that person. And that was one of the most liberating things of my life, because in my world, and something that like is a fallacy that I'm currently working through, it's like, if somebody comes into my life, whether I chose them or they chose me, I have on some level committed to a social contract, and it is not ladylike, nor is it polite, nor is it appropriate, nor is it kind to say, I don't like you. Like all the people out in the audience that I will never talk to, never make eye contact, never be in their orbit, that doesn't matter. But like if somebody is in my circle and I don't like them, I'm not allowed to say that. And apparently that's not true. No, I'm not going to go and be an asshole and be like, hey, you suck and I think you suck at life and I really just don't like you. but it's okay for me to have that recognition within myself and then go about my life. And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? I don't have to like everybody. And not only do I not have to like everybody, I can say that out loud to myself. And she's like, mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, like huge weight lifted, because like, and it's that simple. And even just talking about it, I'm like, ew, even when you talk about it, like you sound so gross and so mean, and you sound like a mean girl at the cafeteria. And it's like, no, we have to be allowed to say these things out loud and find a safe space to do it. And therapy is definitely a great safe space to do it. But if you can't afford therapy, or if you don't have access to it, or you're scared to go, if you can find a friend that will validate that for you and hold that space and not go run and tell everybody else. That's my trauma. Like somebody's going to go run and tell that I don't like someone. Working through it. But it's such an interesting journey. And I think making it more accessible has to be a priority, especially that's one of the things that I've noticed the most coming, and we're not out of COVID by any stretch, but coming through. I mean, like tomorrow is a year anniversary of when my entire tour got shut down and everything got canceled. So as we approach a year since that happened, all I can think about is like my journey with mental health, where like I have a lot of tools in my toolbox, and I got to the point where it's like, I can't do anything else. And this is probably one of the worst times in history to run out of tools, because we don't have access to coping mechanisms that we're used to using. We don't have access to the different tools in our toolbox, as it were. Like if you lose your job and then you lose your benefits, then like you don't have health insurance, you don't have therapy, whatever. So I'm curious, like what are some of the other tools in your toolbox in addition to therapy that have been really helpful for you?
Yeah, I think, it goes along the lines of the making it accessible, where that's why the changing the narrative around it is so important, because that's what's going to make it more accessible. Because right now it needs to be the people who have access to it taking advantage of it. It's kind of like the COVID vaccine. Like if you're allowed to get it and you're not getting it, you're ridiculous as a human being, and it's the same thing with therapy. Like if you have the means to do it, it takes people with money doing things to show that people without money can get it. Unfortunately, that's how our society works. And before I did therapy, it was, I was the queen of toxic positivity, but was actually always negative. But so was everyone around me. I kept myself in a circle that allowed that. When I was 30, and a lot of my adult trauma comes from bad dating relationships, because parent issues, and you don't realize that you're not supposed to be treated like crap by men or women, whatever you choose. And so I had to deal with a lot of that. And when I was 30, I went through another situationship where like when it ended, I was acting out and he was awful. And I can look back now with such empathy and be like, he was hurting in his own ways, but I didn't know that then. I just thought there was something wrong with me. Why wasn't he choosing me? Why wasn't I good enough? And I screwed up, and I was drinking all the time. And Lord knows in my 20s, there should have been a million times that I got pulled over for drinking and driving. And this one time I did, and I got a DUI. And I've never had a speeding ticket. I've never had detention. Like I don't learn from God in the universe in ways that whisper. He has to yell at me. It's the only way I learned. And that happened. And, I got off pretty easy because I am a white woman, and went to court and was referred to as DUI Barbie, and it all happened. And I had to move back in with my parents at 30. And somehow, this editor at the Chicago Tribune took pity on me. And I was like, I have this idea for a blog, and it's called Not the Fastest Girl in Town. And it's about like, when you think you're going to have the white picket fence and everything's going to work out, and instead you're in a twin bed in your old childhood bedroom at your parents' house because you had to go to jail for a night. And not really, like it was like small town sat in a garage jail. It wasn't real jail, but like even that, like, why do I have to preface like that? Mine wasn't as bad as other people's, but that writing, I look back on it and I cringe, but it helped me survive them, because I was word vomiting to the world about things that I had never talked about. And I never talked about that. I am just 7 years later really owning the DUI without embarrassment, because girls like me didn't do that. I was perfect. I was a coach for Girls on the Run. I was on boards. I was on committees. I was all those things. But I wrote about my adoption and about being abandoned and about my biological mother and about these dudes whose beds I was crawling into looking for relief while I was disgusted with myself at the same time. And there's still things that I didn't talk about then that I don't talk about now to anybody but my therapist and my best friends. And that's okay, because I also have learned, a huge tool I've learned is that not everyone deserves your whole story. And I used to tell it because I wore it as a badge of honor that like my trauma, I'm so much tougher than you. And I had been told like, wow, you're so lucky to have survived so much. So I started being like, I know I am. And now I'm like, you don't need to know this about me. And so I think outside of that, like there are authors and people who have helped me where it's not so much that self-help books, that can give us so much of that toxic positivity, but like authors like, I'm a huge fan of Jedediah Jenkins. His life experiences have changed mine, and Ruthie Lindsay, and just all these people who look like me. Jedediah is gay, but he's like white and he grew up middle class. And Ruthie is a, cis white woman, but like people who helped expose me to other people who were less like me. And then finding you guys, like that happened to be at just the right time where I'm kind of an anomaly. This has been one of the best years of my life because I finally got a chance to just sit and be, and I never allowed that. And so I'm very lucky on how COVID played out for me. In that it's kind of been really, really fun, but finding you guys at the right time and just learning what works for me, where I don't process by sitting still. I have to run or hike or something to let that stuff come out, because my brain finally relaxes when I'm in motion. If I'm sitting still, I can control my brain, and my brain's very good at controlling itself. So it's been just trying things and some things not working. Cause like for a long time, I fixed it all by being the girl who could take 8 shots and laughed about what she did the night before and all these other things that were gross and that so many of us use to cope and don't know they're unhealthy. So it's just been trying things and learning how to say no to the things that don't serve me, which is not an easy thing for anybody to do.
Yes. after you talk, I'm just like, yes. Oh, I had so many questions pop up throughout that, but I think like at the end of it all, my biggest takeaway that, like, if I could describe Cassie in like 3 words, it would be like permission, real, and truth. Like those aren't really like sexy or anything, but like, but that's kind of the essence. Like I feel like, and I see this in the spaces that you hold for Hiking My Feelings. And I mean, we've spent some time together in Joshua Tree, and we will, at the end of the month for Catalina, hopefully. But I think that's one of the things that I admire most about you and am inspired by the most is just because of everything that you've experienced, your ability to relate and hold space without rushing in. And as much as you're a fixer, I've never seen you rush in to fix anybody in any of the spaces that you occupy here. So I'm just like continually inspired by everything you do and how you show up and the way you move through the world. And I think in the spirit of the virtual campfire and stories of healing and hope and inspiration in the outdoors, do you have any moments in nature where you were just like, oh, this is where healing happens for me? Like any just awesome experiences outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, I had one actually. It was not awesome so much as it was kind of horrible, but horrible in a sense where it ended up awesome, where it was actually our last day in Joshua Tree and Ashley and I were hiking, and it was awful. It was hard and I hated it. And it was one of the ones where you're like, I can't do this as you're doing it. And you don't understand how you're doing it. And like looking back, I was like, okay, you needed to calm down a little, but in the time it felt horrible. And it was where I kind of really had this like I realized that difference between me saying like, God, I'm so stupid, or I'm so this, because I do have that voice of self-compassion now where when something ridiculous happens, I'm able to be like, oh my God, Cassie, that was so silly. Like that was dumb. But like, it's not like you're such an effing moron or like, but I realized like, as I was on this hike, first I had this realization of like, it's always a you versus I. And if I'm hearing a you're such a this, then odds are that's not mine. Someone gave me that, because I'm not even talking to myself that way. I'm talking to myself as if I'm separate from myself. So that means somebody at some point said that to me. And I could call out a lot of people who have said a lot of things. And I unfortunately grew up in, a very emotionally abusive home. And that's something that's being worked through. And I'm lucky to be in reconciliation in a small sense with my parents, where they're taking some responsibility for those things. But that's taken years and awful work. But I also had this moment where I went into therapy and did my trauma timeline, and I talked about losing my virginity, and my therapist was like, Cassie, you were date raped. And I was like, no, I wasn't. Like, this happened and that happened, and like all these things, where I was able to talk it away. And I was like, well, I was drunk and blah, blah, blah. And when I didn't have the language for it. And then literally walking on this last day in Joshua Tree with, I had told my friend Ashley to go ahead because I was annoyed that she was ahead of me. Speaking of collaboration versus competition, she was clearly better than me and I hated this. So I had to be alone. And all of a sudden it was just like, where I was like, you were raped. And it didn't mean anything more. It didn't mean anything less. It didn't mean this man was a bad man who was a rapist, because he wasn't. This is a good person, where this is why consent and drinking, and it's so many nuanced conversations. This is not someone I have an ill will against. He to this day does not know that he took my virginity or this happened. He doesn't know it was what it was for me to him. And both of those things can be true. I can believe he is a good man and a bad thing happened, and also be really angry that it had to happen to me and that it changed my trajectory for the next 15 years of my life. And kind of just giving myself that permission. 2.5 years, a little over 2 years after my therapist said, Cassie, that happened to you, having that out of nowhere realization of, holy shit, it did happen to me. It was horrible. And I still haven't quite worked through the grief of it, but it was also like just those two things of, that's not my voice, but I still believe those voices a lot. Like, it wasn't like, oh, that's not my voice. Yay, I'm free. Or, oh, I was date raped. Yay, I'm free. It was, oh shit, now I have to work through all of this. Like, I don't want to work through any more stuff. I've had enough. But that's not what healing is. Healing is the second you heal something, there's something else to heal, because it is layered. And so that was, as horrible as it was, I was really lucky to have that experience in a place where I could just be, and that I was with someone that like I could look at and be like, I can't talk right now because I'm going through it. And that was just enough. So I feel as gross as it felt, it also felt so good.
Yeah. I mean, my healing in nature happened in a beautiful place, but there was nothing beautiful about the process at all. Like, it's not like, oh, wow, I feel so amazing. This is so lovely. Like, when I discovered hiking my feelings, I was like, all right, cool. I'm hiking my feelings instead of eating or drinking them. Pat on the back. Why were you eating and drinking your feelings to begin with? Then I got the answer. And then the next year of my life, driving around in a van, telling this story, like, I'm still healing as I tell the story. Like, that was part of my healing journey. Like, I didn't arrive at the top of Healed Mountain and be like, you know what I'm going to do? Book a speaking tour and tell everybody all my stories. Like, that was my healing. Like, I had this experience June 2018. I hit the road in October 2018, and then again in January 2019, and then drove all the way around the country. Like, I didn't heal from that the second that I had the realization. It was the finding more language to articulate what had happened to me and how I healed. Like, I went through the process of like hearing those statements over and over in my head. And it wasn't until I met you that I understood the distinction between you and I. Like, I went through it. I had the healing moments. I vomited literally on the trail. I cried endlessly on the trail. But it wasn't until I met you that I could like distinguish the difference between you and I, and why the I statements were easier at the time for me to work through, because I had the framework of, I wouldn't talk to myself like that. I wouldn't speak to my best friend like that. So I statements, I can let those go. The you statements, I got to figure out where those come from, because I need to understand who harmed me and then work through that as well, because that's how I process. So I think, like, in the spirit of healing outdoors, like, it's not going to be like Instagram worthy. Like, you might hit some sweet view while you're hiking, but like, the actual work that we're doing when we're healing in this way, because hiking for me is a moving meditation. That's how I process. And I love your phrasing around I like when I'm in motion, that I can, like, I move through discomfort in motion. And that's why, like, at the end of the day, that is why sharing our stories, even if it's only with ourselves, is so huge. Because the only reason, and I've said this time and time again, and I will say it every time I have an opportunity to do so, because it is this important, the only reason that I exist in this body on this planet right now in this moment is because other people shared their story and gave me the language to understand what happened to me. Because if I didn't have that, I would have thought I'm all alone. My spiral would have gotten much more violent, to the point of not just passive ideation where I'm like, oh, if I got mauled by a bobcat, that'd be cool. But I might actually try to figure out, like, where are the bobcats at so I can get in the path of one. And like, that's not good.
And I think that's a huge thing, where I think it's even in some ways harder to heal in nature, because like, I'm someone, my deepest core wound is not to ever look weak. You can tell me someone, my mom and I talked about this today. You can tell me someone died to my face and I'm like, okay. And I just go about my day. Like, I do not let people see me weak. So when I'm struggling to breathe up a mountain and I'm doing my best not to look like I can't kick your ass at this mountain, knowing I can't, because I refuse to be weak. And then you put on top of it the mental gymnastics, as you like to say, that you're doing around something that, for people, and I know you're very similar to me, when you don't want to look weak and you're feeling completely weak physically, and then you put on like this new premonition of like, oh my God, which then unravels you mentally. There's nothing that sucks. Like, I don't care how good you're going to feel in 6 months. That's effing horrible. And you don't know what it feels like until you go through it. And that's why when, making space for people, it's not because I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. And it's not even about the compassion. It's just like, shit, this is not, like, I got nothing to say because it's not going to get better. Like, you think you're getting better, but I know what's about to happen. That's why on, week 2, week 3 of Blaze Your Own Trail, and everybody's like, everything's just coming up roses. And then I'm like, okay. And they, I say, I said a couple things where girls in the group were like, no, that's not it. And I was like, okay. And then 3 weeks later, they're like sobbing, or they're like, I can't do this. I can't sleep. Everything's awful. I was like, and I don't want to be right, but I just know I am, because it's what happens when you heal. It's not linear and it sucks.
Yeah, big time. So, if you had a magic wand and there were like something that's on your heart or mind, and you could just like wave your magic wand and people would have an understanding about something, or something would stop happening, or something would start happening, what would that be for you?
Like anything?
Anything.
We would stop shooting Black and brown people for being Black and brown. And then we would give everybody therapy. But if I could only choose one thing, it would be that we would stop shooting Black and brown people for being Black and brown, and we'd fix the effing problem.
Yes.
Which is us, white people.
Yes, I love that. I agree 100%. Yeah, that's been a common thread, is like, we would wave our wand and racism would end. We'd wave our wand and people would stop getting shot. We'd wave our wand and people would have integrity and accountability. It's all the same. Nobody has asked for a purse. Like, right. At least, and that's how I know that I'm in good company around this campfire. So does anybody have any questions for Cassie? If you do, go ahead and pop on your camera. You can ask away, and then we'll bring Dada on into this conversation, and this is going to be a good time. There is a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to sip my water. I thought so. All right. Well, Dada, come on down while people get their camera on. Yay, Mary!
There's Mary.
Hi. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to thank Cassie for being here and sharing her story. I always love learning from you, and just you're so gifted with your words and your language, and I always learn so much from you. So I just want to thank you for being brave and coming on here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Yay. I love Mary. Faves. So good. All right, cool. Well, then let's do this. Dada is the, well, hang on. Tomboyce Avenue is here to rock our world. So I'm going to do a little quick intro. Singer-songwriter Nilda Dada Cantalampatak, I hope I didn't butcher that, aka Tomboyce Avenue, is a full-blooded Filipino born and raised in the tropical country of the Philippines, island of Luzon. She now lives in San Diego, California, and is working as a medical professional. Tomboyce Avenue highly believes that music is medicine. In 2020, Tomboyce Avenue released Take Me Back featuring Corrick Watson of Through the Roots, Kaya Hall, bassist of Sensi Trails, and frontman of Strictly Skunk, and Maria Connors. Take Me Back is a song Tomboyce Avenue wrote about how she feels as half musician and half medical professional with the current situation around the COVID-19 pandemic and about Black Lives Matter. The song was produced by Ian Young of Imperial Sound Recording Studio, Roots Musician Records, and former keyboardist of the band Tribal Seeds. Also, this gal is sunshine personified. So I first became aware of Tomboyce Avenue in my Instagram DMs. She was like, hey, I want to go backpacking with you in Yosemite when you leave like next week. And I was like, cool, hi. We haven't met yet. I don't know how I feel about spending time in the backcountry with a total stranger, but you seem awesome. Let's connect. And then I had the great pleasure of meeting her at the Joshua Tree retreats that we hosted last fall in partnership with the Joshua Tree National Park Association within Joshua Tree National Park. So she came as a participant for the first one, and then she was singing and making everybody sunshiny on the second one, and then the third one got canceled because of COVID. Boo. So welcome, my love, sunshine personified. How are you?
I am super awesome right now.
Good.
How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm amazing. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in music and your journey to where you are today from the Philippines to San Diego.
Wow. So well then I with music, oh gosh, I don't know where to start, but like moving here from the Philippines back in 2016. I moved here back in 2016 and working in a cool relationship. The reason why I'm here is because of my ex, which is a cool story to talk to too. And I jump onto the music, ever since I play music since I was a kid. It's a Filipino thing. Like, if you're Filipino, you are required to sing. Like, your parents push you to, like, whenever there's a family gathering or like contest, even though you don't want it, you are required to sing. So yeah, I mean, just self-thought about all instruments that I play, and I think I just in general I love music. Yeah, half of my life is sports and music, and when I moved here, I met a bunch of people that helped me to go back to music, because at some point, like, I'm not seeing it doing professional or like for a long run. But then I realize, I think that's one of my biggest passion, that I can't just keep on running away. And with music, with whatever happened to me with my past relationship and like in life in general, I just discover that this is a cool talent that I can't just ignore or like set aside, because with whatever happened to me ever since I moved here, I literally wrote it in a music. So that's that's about it. And doing it over and over is like, it's amazing. It's amazing talent to share.
So that's kind of how you processed the relationship that you were in when you moved here, was through songs and playing music?
Yeah, like the experience that I've had like 5 years ago.
Very cool. So if I was meeting you for the first time, how would you introduce yourself, and like what are you super passionate about? What makes you really excited?
Yeah. So, ah, well, if we have a time machine and I'm gonna meet you for the very first time, yeah, I'm gonna introduce myself like this. Hey, Miss Sydney.
Hi, nice to meet you. Who are you? Why are you
Well,
being so nice to me?
Well, I love to hike. I love to do outdoor activities. I am a musician. I am a marketing professional. I'm a medical professional. Like all this kind of stuff, and I'm not gonna stop. Well, then, like I'm just gonna be being me, like loud and always laughing, and say things that I have experienced in the past, which I love to always share. And yeah, like just laughing and smiling while you're gonna think maybe I'm in a clouds having my, but yeah, people think I'm a pothead, but I don't smoke. Just for the record.
Why? Because you're so happy?
Yeah, like like people, like you know what, with this pandemic, um with the mask, I hate it because they can't see me smiling, but
Right.
people can tell in my eye. So I was like, some days are like, you know, my face is always like this, and then I was like, gosh, how am I gonna look like when we don't need to like wear a mask anymore? I was like, like left and right, I'm like this. Hi. You know? Yeah.
So tell me about your EP, because you've released a couple songs as the singles. So tell us about the inspiration behind that. What are the songs about? And then you can like set us up for the first song that you want to share.
Oh yeah. So I am in a mission of finishing my EP called 1920, which is the COVID-19, and wrote the song all in 2020. So I called it to, the inspiration about the song is all about the COVID and what's like the current situation, and like work on it, write and work on it to last year, and we're actually in the fourth song of the EP, and yeah, I've already released three of them, which is Take Me Back. Well, the song Take Me Back is all about me as half a musician and half as a nurse, medical professional. Um, like how I feel about it when we shut off like exactly the same month last year. And like, shows are canceled, and you can't play live music anywhere else, unless, and then became virtual, which is, at least a little bit of something. And half of that is I'm in the medical field, so I feel like, why are you doing this to me, universe? Like kind of a, like I can't play music, and I work in a medical field, so I'm like, God, I'm really dying. I'm really craving for live music, and then, what's the call, Lord? Like, okay, no music for now because you need to work on the community. You need to be there and help out with this pandemic, which is really cool too. And yeah, I came up with that song, Take Me Back. And part of it, Kaya Hall of Sensi Trail is featured on that song, which he partly wrote a verse about, pandemic, and then, with the Black Lives Matter thing, hit up as April and May. So it was a cool collaboration with Kaya. It's always been fun to collaborate with that guy. And then and yeah, Coric Watson of True the Roots is featured on that song. He lays the guitar and some some guitar line, and he pre-produced the song and end up with Ian Young.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
do you want to start with a song now and then we'll have some more conversation after you sing a song?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. So tell us about
All
what
right.
you're gonna sing. I'm gonna turn off my camera so you are the star of the show.
Oh, come on.
I'm not. I'm gonna.
I'm always the tiny star. I love that. All right then. Okay. Here. All right.
We're gonna pretend we're around a campfire. I'm gonna eat a muffin because I got my s'mores muffin. Barry, come get your half.
Oh, throw me some in here.
There you go. There's Barry. Barry's getting his half. That's his hand. Yeah. So s'mores muffin. I'm pretending we're around a fire. Okay, go ahead.
Alrighty.
Oh, it's so good.
Sing with me, play the drum song with the reggae beat. Simply comply with social distancing. I'll play guitar and sing for you apart 6 feet. Most of us lie right for ain't a virtual thing. Don't forget to bucket up Corona beer. This COVID-19 is just a piece of shit. Burn up to ganja and let me take a hit. Take me back in time where all of us just playing music live. Oh, take me back in time where all of our are just cheering us alive. Oh, whoa, oh, oh. Checking the reality. It's not a joke, there's a lot of casualty. Lots of frontliners in medical field died because of lack of PPEs. No one is prepared for this. Let's all be respectful, they have life to live. Spend good time with your family. Stay home healthy. Back in time where all of us just playing music live. Oh, take me back in time where all of our are just cheering us alive. Oh, whoa, oh, oh, yeah, whoa. Together, we're all in this as one. Got to understand we got the children of the sun. I see riots in the streets, they'll float with disease. So much separation and it hurts me to see. So take me back to the time when we were free. No face masks, no violence, no anger, I sense it. People are hurting, they need one another. The ones you call prince, yes, your sister, your brother. You distance yourself and you distance your soul. So I don't wanna see your faces racking at the shore. So take me back. happening. Soon we will be back on the stage jamming. This is just a virus, not the end of everything. The power of music push out this pandemic. Take me back in time where all of us just playing music live. Oh, take me back in time where all of our are just cheering us alive. Oh, 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 yeah. Whoa. Take me back in time. Take me back in time. Take me back in time. Take me back in time.
Woo! Woo!
There you go. The tip jar is in down there. You can just put it here.
Let's do it. Yes. So so what was your life like before the pandemic? Were you a medical professional? Were you like on tour? Were you doing lots of shows? Like what was life like before everything got shut down?
Well, yeah, it was the whole 2019 was the album making. We released I have an album called Show Me Love, and we did it the whole year of early of 2019, and we released it November. So we're like in a mission of, you know, playing bunch of gigs for the we have a bunch of gigs in and out San Diego, and this all happened. I was actually in Las Vegas for a show when they declare that, you know, March 16 is gonna be closed, and
Wow.
we're at Las Vegas March 12 to 14, March 12 to 15, March 13 to 15. We came back 15, and then the following day it's all closed.
Wow. Did you get to play any of those shows in Vegas?
Yeah, and they still continue it, and with a like one seat apart, like social distancing show.
Wow. So I love that song, and it touches on so many different things. Do you have a favorite line of that song?
Yeah, I have I just love it general because it's like two of my face, but like with music, you know. I really love the intro verse. That's one of my favorite, like, you know. It was like literally just me saying and talking to the universe, like this thing is kind of crap, but like I just want to say my feelings towards it, and I came up with that badass verse, which is, you know, just a normal conversation to myself
Yeah.
and the universe. So
Yeah. So we had the pleasure of having you join us in Joshua Tree, and you and Barry had a little jam session. So if you could pick any kind of environment in which to play music, whether that's around a campfire or in front of like thousands of people, like, do you have a preference for where you would play your first show back once we can start doing stuff again?
yeah, like what I've told you guys when we're at Joshua Tree. Like, dude, that was amazing place to play music with, day or night. You know, like it's kind of like that's like unlimited open place where people can be with us, and at night, or like, you know, with the Joshua trees, and at night the stars and the moons, and the stars and the moon, like it's gonna be the natural light for everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you know, I haven't toured around the US yet with you know, like I I am excited to do that, but like I haven't seen that much places that I really wanna say that I really wanna play in there.
Right.
Like
That makes sense.
why you're so pretty right there?
Why are you so pretty? Stop it. You make me laugh and smile. You're so kind. So if you had a magic wand, like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and in the song you just played, you're talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about the pandemic. What if you had a magic wand and anything that's on your heart or mind that is just like you want it to end, or you want people to have understanding about something, what would that be for you?
All right. Can I do three?
Of course, yes.
Okay. If I have a magic wand, I literally wanted to have like infinite happiness for everyone. Infinite happiness. Like I think everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to be happy, in some way. Um yeah, I think, that's number 1. And number 2, of course, like love and respect. In This is just one. Love and respect always. That's my line. Love and respect to everyone. Love and respect to each other. Love and respect for yourself. It starts to yourself, because if you can't love and respect yourself, you can't love and respect other people around you. And I think number 3, gosh, I have like 10, I think, in my mind, but like,
That's fine.
yeah, yeah.
So love and respect, infinite happiness. Give me one more.
Good vibes only. I think in general, like, I think that will sum up everything. Like, I mean, the world needs to have a negative and a positive to be balanced. But like, of course, where you want to go, right? In a positive side. So like, kind of, yeah, life is good. Life is easy, and life is, life is such a wonderful gift that we need to like, celebrate every day with positivity. And of course, I know negativity is still gonna be there, and not everyone is like me, like laughing with problems, and it's not allowing any negativity go around my nerves. So it's kind of a, yeah, I mean, just good vibes only. Muffin, but good vibes only.
Yeah.
I love you, Craig.
Well, I think that's an important part of the conversation too, though, is like because there are people that say good vibes only, and they don't acknowledge that there are tough times and hard things that happen. And that's like the toxic positivity side. But in Dada's world, everybody would be allowed to express and feel good vibes, because we would have infinite happiness and love and respect. And that's what gives us more good vibes.
Yeah, but then, yeah, I just really want to emphasize this, that I'm only human, that, feel, this is what I learn about you guys when meeting you guys, meeting Cassie, like what I was listening the whole time. And like, gosh, I was like, I can't just unmute me and like, God, I'm wrong. Like, I'm doing that and it's wrong, Cassie. You're right. Like now I can tell, I can voice out, like, yeah, Cassie is really, really good about what she said. And now I can humbly and like seriously tell that I'm not okay sometimes. I know, but then I don't stay in there. and be sad and depressed. But then, you know, just the thought that it, gosh, I'm lost for words about this thing, because it's really hard for me to admit that sometimes it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
But then, like meeting you, Barry, hacking my feelings, and this people that is like hurt and like, trying to move on, and like having therapy, and I am a student. Like, I feel like I'm learning, because I thought like, oh, always okay. But in reality, like when I'm just by myself, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, are you really happy? Because you have this. But like, I give them like attention. Like, shoot, like this happened to me. I don't deserve this. But then at the end of the day, I'm still gonna laugh at it. But then, if like there's a problem that I ignore, like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna move on. But like, if I don't allow myself to feel the pain, then it's gonna, like, it's gonna knock on my door over and over, and trying to get in, and trying to ruin my feelings, and try to ruin my vibe. So, I learn a lot of things with you guys, which is super, like, it really amazed me when I think about November, October, October, November, that month is kind of, I am literally dying in pain, but nobody knows. And I always say, I'm okay. But, and giving advices to people and caring for people, which, like, gosh, who's gonna take care of me if I'm giving a lot? So I learned how to limit. And this word that Mr. Barry Williams told me literally hit and stuck in my head. Don't be over nice and super kind to people, because some of them will just take advantage of you. And because you're nice, yeah, they will take advantage because you're nice, and ending up, if you fail to give them what they want, they'll not gonna love you. They'll gonna, like, forget about 100 million things you did for them, and 100 good things you did, but because you say no to one of what they ask, and then that will cover everything. So yeah, I'm so, like, for the record here, you guys who's watching us, I am a student. Like, I feel like, I don't know why am I talking here, like, I don't know what to share, but like, literally, I'm just, I don't have any like knowledge of, like, what am I gonna talk to with Sydney, and I'm like, what if she gonna ask me this, gosh. And now I'm just literally being me, saying what I
That's
feel,
it.
and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's all we ever want. And I appreciate you opening up in that way, because I think it's hard, right? Like, especially, and I have never assumed that any of your sunshine, bright and shiny, make me laugh energy is forced or fake. That is who you are, and that is okay. Like, it is
Yeah.
so necessary in this world. The world needs more people like you who can move through it in that way, while also acknowledging that, yeah, like, right now I'm not okay, but I'm going to keep a smile on my face, because that's how I get to be okay. Like, I think the way that you process things is beautiful, Dada.
Oh man, yeah, and really, music really heals me, because instead of, like, if this person did something wrong with me, instead of me fighting, like, back in the days when I was young, like, oh, all right, let's fist fight, like, like, let's, and I don't fight with girls, like, I don't do mouth fight. I do fist fight.
Right.
But then I realized, like, instead of me saying bad words to this person, I'll just use my music to, like, ease the pain, at least, and create a content, a
Yeah.
music, so
Yeah.
it's kind of, I am super grateful for music.
Do you
That
do you
really
have
helps
it?
me a lot.
Do you have another song you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I
All
have
right.
a bunch for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do another one, and then after you're done, we'll talk about how people can find and share your music, and then we'll do our group gratitude circle. So if you're in the Zoom, once she's done and I call you down, turn on your cameras, and we're gonna do our group gratitude circle. So thank you, Dada, for being here.
I love you guys. Anytime for you. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, yeah. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, yeah. Same month last year, we create precious memories. Same time last year, for you I drink my first beer. You call me 8 p.m. on the phone, telling me your car got towed. I wish myself driving in the rain to get you and make you feel safe, yeah. But what happened now? Feels like we're infected with COVID-19, spreading all around. Where are you now? Are you in 14 days self-quarantine? That's why you're not around. I wanna take time to know if we're still true. I wanna take time to see if I can still do. I wanna take time to try if I can still hold on to you. I wanna take time to feel if I still love you, babe. Whoa, oh, 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 yeah. Damn, this coronavirus made me write this song for you. It made me wanna visit my doctor, cause I feel I have the signs and symptoms. Heartache that makes me hard to breathe, headache that Tylenol can't heal. I'm telling you, no joke, from head to toe, the pain is real. My heart all do is cry, even though it doesn't have eyes. I wanna know if you can still give a try. Never ever wanna say goodbye. For you to know it's hard to try. I wanna take time to know if we're still true. I wanna take time to see if I can still do. I wanna take time to try if I can still hold on to you. I wanna take time to feel if I still love you, babe. I see you in perfect time, but maybe in the other life a lot of things will change, but time will remind us everything is gonna be okay. If this is what we need, I hope that time will speak for what we really feel in times when all our hearts are healed. I wanna take time to know if we're still true. I wanna take time to see if I can still do. I wanna take time to try if I can still hold on to you. I wanna take time to still hold on to you. I wanna take time to feel if I still love you, babe.
Yay!
Don't forget the tip jar.
Are you on Venmo? Do you have a digital tip jar that we can tell people about?
Oh yeah, I have a Venmo at Tomboyce Avenue.
Tomboyce Avenue. We'll put it in the show notes. If you like what you hear, support your local half artist, half musician, or half medical professional. I dig it. Does anybody have any questions for Dada? Well, tell us a little bit about where we can find you, where we can find your music, how we can support you.
Yeah, I have if you guys have a Spotify, would highly appreciate if you guys stream on it. Tomboyce Avenue, just simply type Tomboyce Avenue. My name is right there. Here. I think am I pointing it right?
Other side.
Oh, the other side, like
yeah,
this one.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, there you go. Right, like this here,
yep, like
here,
that.
here, like here. Yeah, there you go. Tomboyce Avenue. Yeah, and you guys can follow me in my Instagram account at Tomboyce Avenue _ Tomboyce Avenue _ music. Tomboyce _ Avenue _ music.
Yeah.
And yeah, simply in general, just search Tomboyce Avenue, YouTube, Facebook. Yeah, it's all iTunes and Apple Music. Would highly appreciate everyone. Check out I have a full reggae album in there called Show Me Love, and bunch of singles that you can listen to if you want. If you wanna support and listen to a new music, would highly appreciate you guys.
Yes, and so we added the songs that you played tonight to our virtual Campfire playlist, so people can find it there too. Are there any other songs? Are there any other songs that, like, one or two where you're like, if you've never heard me sing before, these are the songs I want you to listen to first, and we'll add those as well.
Oh yeah. I have this song that I collaborated with Kat Hall and Kaya Hall, and recently released last January, which is I Can't Breathe.
I Can't Breathe. We'll add that.
And shout out to Mr. Ian Young, who produced this song. And I love to share this because I want you to guys savor the lyrics, the verses of each artist that I work with in there, and how Mr. Ian Young turned this song into a different level. So yeah, would highly appreciate you guys. And that's the third song in the EP.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited about the upcoming release. I don't have a like a date yet, but like after maybe the fourth song, and then we'll start it to promote more about the EP.
Nice. Yay. All right. Well, let's do our group gratitude circle for everybody that is here on Zoom. Go ahead and turn on your cameras, and we will close it out with a group gratitude circle.
Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Dada.
Hi, Miss Mary.
Hello.
Yay, Craig's here. Muffin Man is in the house. What? Look what I got. I went over to Craig. So Craig, okay, I got to brag on Craig for a minute. I'm going to kick us off with my gratitude. It's all about Craig today. So Craig makes delicious muffins. And I don't just say that because now I have one. I mean, like, I've met her time. But so Craig runs this fundraiser every year for his Comic-Con boy club buddies. And it benefits charity, and he does like all these shipments and gets all these awesome prizes. So we recently had all of our stuff in a warehouse, it was a total disaster. They $20 to ship a water bottle and a hat. What we can do for $5. And Craig and his wife Jenny were on a hike with us, and he's like, "So how'd your first fulfillment order go?" I was like, "It was terrible, Craig. I hate it." He's like, "Cool. Take all your inventory out of the warehouse and send it to my house. I'll handle it for you." And I was just like, who is this angel? One, like, I would never ask anybody to take hundreds of water bottles and trail journals and hats and all the other stuff that we have and like house it in their space. Like, I don't have room for it in the van, but I would make room in the van before I'd ask somebody to do that. So like, thanks for reading the room, Craig, and just taking that off our hands. And also, we have these muffins and they're so tasty. I've got 3. I don't know how long they're gonna last because I'm really hungry and they're real delicious. But I got these. So thank you, Craig, for making our day. Like, we came over to like grab some stuff and drop some stuff off as far as the shipping and stuff goes. And like, Craig smells like muffins. If you guys ever get a chance to meet him, like, legit, he smells like muffins. And so I was, oh, what is that weird noise? That's so crazy. It sounds like a bug. So I was like, "You smell like muffins." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then I walk in and there's a whole tray for us to taste test of the Hiking My Feelings s'more muffin. So like, I gotta say, you made a great day even better, Craig. So I'm very grateful for you. Thank you. Dada, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for you guys.
Whoa.
I am thankful for you guys.
Hang on a second. Dada, your audio sounds like you're a robot in outer space and underwater. It's so weird.
Hello?
Yeah, that's so weird. Try again.
Sound check.
All right. We'll come back to you. Let's figure that out. Cassie, what are you thankful for?
Oh my God. I mean, besides being here, I am so thankful for Dada. I got to meet her at Joshua Tree last fall, but I am a dark and twisty person who pretends to be perky, because that's how I got through life. And she is a naturally pure and glorified perky heart. And we need those to balance the rest of us out. And I only met her once, but I can't imagine going through life without her ever. So I am just grateful that she exists in this world.
I love you, Sexy.
I love you, Dada Sexy.
I am macho.
There you go. All right. While your audio works, Dada, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for everyone of you guys that is here. Miss Marine, I just want to shout you out. Miss Marine and Miss Mary, you guys are beautiful ladies right there. I love seeing your faces smiling. And of course, I am thankful for Cassie too, for giving me these compliments. And I want to thank you, Cassie, for being true to you and like this, like, despite of what you experience. You know, I never heard some of them before, but like hearing you right now, you know, I listened to the entire segment you have, and I think after this conversation we have, I can apply it to myself, and that will help me a better person.
Thanks, Dada.
Yeah, and Miss Sydney and Mr. Barry Williams, I just love you in general, you guys. You guys are sunshine too.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Try.
Thank you so much. Grateful
Yeah,
for life.
thank you. Yes, thank you. And thank you for being here. Craig, what are you thankful for?
Oh man. Oh, where do I start? Well, I'm thankful I had some time this morning to whip up that batch of muffins, to make that happen.
I am too.
And as always, I mean, I think I keep circling around back this all the time with yourself and Barry, that you guys are fam. I mean, listen, man, I'm getting all choked up. It really is. I mean, it's, gosh, I'm having a hard time with words right now, because I mean, this whole thing, I've started connecting more with hiking, as you know, getting a lot more connected with nature. I think a lot more connected with myself in general. And I think a lot of that is attributed to what you're doing here with Hiking My Feelings, with the virtual campfires, and being able to, on so many levels, this is something like I wouldn't have done in the past, because it becomes that whole machismo thing, and not something that's really that I was really brought up on to connect with those parts of myself. So I'm extremely thankful that you and Barry came into my life and came into my family's life, and kind of opened up some different avenues. And here we are now with continuing our world collaboration, and getting a little bit closer to having this muffin become official, and get it out there to the world. And I'm just really, really, really thankful for that fateful day that I sent that message on Facebook and brought me out to Reggae Ranch and brought you and Barry into my life. So yeah.
Big love. I love you. I love your whole family. I want to steal your children. I love your dog. I love your ducks. Everything.
Miss Sydney.
So thank you. Yes,
Miss
ma'am.
Sydney.
How can I?
Yeah.
Yes, Dada.
Since Craig is there, I just really want to give this guy huge love and respect again, over and over. He always visit me in the hospital and bring me muffin, bring me some stuff. I mean, it's
I didn't
something.
know that. Aw, Craig, you're the best.
He is I don't know, for some reason this guy, we first met, and then it's muffin, it's shirt, it's stickers, and it's just all positive thing and positive power, like positive vibe. And I was like, why it's muffin but good vibes? I don't get. Oh, now I think this is nothing, nothing but good vibes. And I like the twist. So I just figured it out like last time. Muffin but good vibes. Oh, okay, maybe it's nothing, and they twist it with muffin, which is cool. Super, give you so much compliment with that. It's a good one. So somebody saw me wearing the shirt, and I was like, muffin but good vibes. And you see that it's a muffin, it's like cupcake. I need to oh, maybe it's nothing but good vibes, but it's your muffin is a sunshine too, dude.
Yes.
When the second time you delivered the muffin in the hospital, I said, I am willing to share this, and I turned my back, and it's all gone. I was like, can I ask half of it? Can I taste it too? It was super good. Thank you for everything you do, and to support local artists, and I just love the passion you have for your business. Super salute you for that, sir.
Thank you. Oh, and then real quick too, tip my hat to Cassie there. That was very interesting listening to that earlier. So I tip my hat to you as well.
Tips of hats, cheers and muffins. Amanda, what are you grateful for? Oh, I can't hear you.
She's muted, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
There you
now
go.
I can.
I'm grateful for this community and just all the information and the new perspective from tonight and from Hiking My Feelings in general. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Maureen,
Hi,
how about you?
Amanda. There's a bunch of people I didn't know. I don't see them, but yeah. Hi.
Did you call on me? Yeah.
Yes, it's your turn.
So I am incredibly grateful for the truthfulness tonight from Cassie, from Dada. It really was awesome. And then Dada, I just want to say the biggest thing that I connected to tonight, other than the truthfulness, was one of my biggest passions I can't keep running away from. You said that about music, and I love that so much. I wrote it down. It is going on my wall. It is going to have Dada. It's going to have... Seriously, you guys, that's awesome. It really is. I mean, some of you know why that's awesome for me, but that statement right there is really, really beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss
Super
Mom.
grateful.
Go tear up the world, Maureen. Maureen's also going to be. She's on the world collaboration, not domination train. She's good people. And Miss Mary, how about you? What are you thankful for?
I have a really long list, but I'm just going to pick one of them. I'm really grateful that I got to virtually meet Dada and Craig tonight, because I've heard so much about each one of you through Sydney that now I feel like I've met you. You haven't met me yet, but I feel like I've met you, and I'm really excited to get to know each of you even more. And that was a fun treat. I didn't realize that Dada was Dada from Joshua Tree, so that was really cool. So that's what I got tonight.
I love it. Dada, would you like to say some words to Mary before I cut you off?
Miss Mary, where wait, let me find her. Hi, Miss Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. I was supposed to be at the December Joshua Tree retreat, but that didn't happen. So it'll happen again this year. We'll make it happen. How does that sound?
We will make it happen.
With muffins, and there will be muffins there.
Yes.
So good. Yay. All right. Well, Sweets is driving, and so she says she loves us all, and we love her too. So for everybody that is on YouTube, thank you for joining us. For the people here on Zoom, thank you for joining us. Next week, we are talking about diversity and diabetes, and I have some of the most powerhouse women you've ever met in your entire life that are doing incredible work in the diabetes space. We have Quisha and Casey from Diversity and Diabetes. We have Tiara from Beyond Type 2, and we also have Dr. Felisa DeRose from Diagnosed Not Defeated. And all of these women are doing incredible patient advocacy work for people with diabetes. Clearly, we have a lot of things to say about the diabetes space. And the reason that I invited these women to join me around the campfire, one, they're women. They're crushing it. We're doing good stuff. We need to highlight more of that in this world. And also, they were all part of a conversation about the infighting that's happening in the diabetes community between some folks with type 1 and some folks with type 2. And at the end of the day, I've never met a person that's living with diabetes that wants to have this disease, and we have that in common. So even though the types of diabetes may be very different and the resources allocated towards the different kinds of diabetes may be very different, we need to find some common ground. So we're going to talk about that as far as collaboration versus competition goes within the diabetes space next week. And we also have our friends from UST joining, who will be sharing about our partnership and all the cool prizes that will be available through the rest of the year for a Take a Hike Diabetes campaign. So if you are on YouTube, we're going to say sayonara. Join us next week. And if you're on Zoom, stick around because we still can chat a little bit.